Beginning here, a referendum seeking to ban transgender student athletes from joining sports teams and using facilities that match their gender identity has now been ruled invalid.
That's right. Yesterday, Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows reversed an earlier decision and decided it would not be on the November ballot. News Center Maine's Alex Haskell explains what led to the decision.
Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows says she is accepting a recommendation from her staff that found thousands of signatures tied to this referendum effort are invalid.
My job as Secretary of State is to review the evidence.
Secretary Bellows says that's exactly what her office did before deciding the citizen initiative proposing limits on transgender athletes did not qualify for this November's ballot.
This process demonstrates that the process works.
The decision comes after a months-long review process. Bellows had previously ruled enough signatures were collected to make the ballot, but that decision was later challenged in court, with opponents arguing some signatures were gathered illegally. After a hearing overseen by Chief Deputy Secretary of State Catherine McBrien determined thousands of signatures were invalid, leaving the campaign with more than 500 signatures short of the required total. Bellows says she agrees with that finding.
And it was determined that 2 out-of-state circulators failed to follow Maine law. They left petitions unattended for periods of time.
Bellows says other signatures were thrown out because they were duplicates or were missing required dates. The campaign behind the referendum, Protect Girls Sports in Maine, now has the option to appeal. That possibility is something opponents of the measure say they're already preparing for.
What we have to do, and our partners, is to make sure we're building a campaign to defeat this ballot initiative should it show up on the ballot in November.
Meanwhile, some Republicans are criticizing the decision. Republican gubernatorial candidate Jonathan Bush says in a statement, "You just can't trust Augusta insiders. They will always silence the voice of the people." Bellows argues her decision was based strictly on evidence and the law.
It is my duty to uphold the law and the Constitution, and that is what I have done.
Bellows says an appeal to her decision has to happen within the next 10 days. In Augusta, Alex Haskell, News Center Maine.
Now, the campaign behind the referendum, Protect Girls Sports in Maine, did send us a statement saying they disagree with the Secretary's decision and they're working to ensure a judicial review. Meanwhile, the Maine GOP accused Bellows of abusing her power and is calling for her to be stopped.
State leaders and advocates for sexual assault survivors are celebrating the funding of a program that tracks sexual assault kits. Governor Mills joined the Maine Coalition Against Sexual Assault in Bangor yesterday. The governor's supplemental budget, which passed last month, included funding for the program. It allows people who take a sexual assault forensic exam to track where their kit is 24/7. Advocates say it's a big step forward for survivors of sexual assault.
We're thrilled by the progress on this. It's been a long time coming. And you know, we have so many legislative priorities, but I've never seen one like this that had so much public attention on it, so much public excitement. And it's been really amazing to see the state come together.
Advocates say the money from the supplemental budget will be available to the program by late summer or early fall. Earlier this month, Democratic gubernatorial candidates Shenna Bellows, Troy Jackson, and Hannah Pingree publicly announced they'd be ranking each other 1 through 3 in the June primary.
Well, last week, fellow Democrat and Senate candidate Grant Plattner said he ranked Jackson first, Bellows second, Pingree third when he voted. Yesterday, Plattner did campaign alongside all 3 of them in Portland. Plattner explaining why he ranked those 3 on his Democratic primary ballot, saying he believes that they are the candidates who believe in progressive change for the state of Maine. The 3 that are running for governor spoke about why they are the best choice, touting their careers in Augusta and their previous achievements and experience.
And if you believe in upending the status quo, if you believe it's time to transform our state now, I'm asking you to give me your #1 vote on June 9. And if you plan on ranking any of my colleagues first, then I'd be honored to have your second place spot.
At a separate campaign event yesterday, Dr. Nirav Shah was asked what his thoughts were on that joint event. He said he does respect the other candidates, but believes that Maine just needs something different.
My campaign is about politics as problem solving. What I think we need is a fresh look at longstanding challenges in Maine, and that is what my campaign offers.
Now, at that event, Dr. Shaw laid out his plan to end childhood hunger in Maine. He broke it down yesterday into 4 sections: expanding out-of-school food programs, connecting kids with locally grown food, protecting SNAP benefits, and investing in kids. Shaw said that last point would use about $60 to $70 million from the state's rainy day fund. He says he would work with Republicans on those priorities, saying his plan is about improving efficiency.
This is not a plan where there are a lot of zeros. This is not something that is necessarily a major set of financial asks. There are financial asks baked in here, to be sure. This is really more about arranging the pieces on the chessboard and making sure that we are all moving in concert.
As for other gubernatorial candidates, Hannah Pingree platform includes promises to secure funding for school lunches, SNAP, and other food programs. Independent candidate Rick Bennett recently pitched a plan for childhood development, which focuses on streamlining Maine's existing programs and agencies.
There is a new development in the ongoing legal battle between the University of New England and the city of Biddeford. It has to do with UNE's plan to build a research pier on campus. Biddeford's planning board approved the project last summer, but then in January, the city council adopted a 180-day moratorium on all new construction. The city recently cited that moratorium when it denied UNE's request to cut down trees to build an access road for the pier. University officials appealed that rejection, arguing the language in the moratorium doesn't make it retroactive to stop existing approved projects. Now, the initial approval for this entire project came from the Saco River Corridor Commission back in 2024. The city of Biddeford has now filed an appeal of that approval with the Maine Supreme Court.